our nations have much to offer one another. And that's why we come to you as partners looking to strengthen our relationship. That our nations have much.
India and the US finalized terms for bilateral trade deal. The terms of reference could be the stepping stone for a full bilateral trade agreement between the US and India. Vance offers sales of F-35 fighter jets to IAF. The Vice President of US says that the best path to peace is through mutual strength. Bangladesh's Islamists seek abolition of Women's Commission and says that Hazrat-e-Islam openly rejects the idea of equality and says that equality is nothing but a Western ideology. Terrorist attack in Jammu Kashmir's Pahalgam area. Tourists have been killed. 6 have been injured in the firing on trekkers. Indian scientist detects evidence of life on distant planet. Exclusive conversation with astrophysicist Niku Madhusudan on India Global. First story on the show, it is the powerful symbol of deepening of ties as Prime Minister Modi touched down in Jeddah this afternoon, welcomed with unprecedented grandeur as Saudi Royal Air Force jets sliced through the sky in a rare state honor. This marks Prime Minister Modi's 3rd visit to the kingdom, a journey of friendship, strategy and shared ambition. The warmth of the welcome was as strong as the partnership it celebrates, from receiving the king in 2001 to co-founding the Strategic Partnership Council in 2019. Modi's Saudi engagements have rewritten the rule book on diplomacy. From trade to technology and energy to expats, the stakes are massive. $43 billion is the trade, 2.7 million Indians in the kingdom. That's the diaspora that we have. The ties go far beyond statecraft. Prime Minister Modi will connect with the heart of the relationship, that is the Indian diaspora, a community event that will, of course, further bridge the connect between two ancient civilizations, cultures, and two modern powers. As Prime Minister Modi steps into Jeddah's historic corridors, the world watches. It's not just diplomacy, it's much more than that. And let's get in my colleague Mohammed Ghazali, who's joining us live from Jeddah, covering this very important visit. As we get in Ghazali to tell us more about this, on your screens are the key points as far as why this visit is important from a diplomatic point of view, from an economic point of view, and of course from a people-to-people point of view. And before we get in Ghazali to get us more on this, I want to quickly now put across some important graphic points that are coming in, and I'm also going to welcome some of the guests joining me on the broadcast. We'll try and get Ghazali as and when we can, but let's also introduce the panelists who are joining me on the broadcast. First up is Bashir Ali Abbas, Middle East expert, Senior Research Associate from CSDR, and Virat Solanki, who's joining us live from London, who's a research fellow from IISS. Let's quickly show them in the screens, and both of you gentlemen stay with me because I finally have Ghazali with me. Let's quickly now get in an update from Ghazali on what all we could expect from Jeddah.
So Gaurie, the Indian community members are waiting for the Prime Minister to come here and address them. A greet and meet meeting is scheduled here in the hotel where Prime Minister arrived here a couple of hours ago. And after this meeting with the Indian community members, the Indian Prime Minister will go to the Royal Palace where he will have the meeting with his counterpart and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia. Now, a host of MoUs are expected to be signed and some announcements is expected to be made in the areas of defense sector, in energy sector, and some emerging areas are also there where both sides will explore avenues. As far as defense sector is concerned, Prime Minister spoke to the Arab media here yesterday, citing that how India is capable of manufacturing defense equipments and combat helicopters, drones, and Saudi Arabia is also looking for the same kind of engagement with India when it comes to defense sector. We also had joint naval exercises in the past. Prime Minister also spoke about that. Besides that, there is going to be a strategic partnership council meeting, which the Prime Minister also said in his departure statement. Now, that council meeting is probably a group of ministers who will sit from both sides, headed by Prime Minister Modi from Indian side and MDS from Saudi side, and they will review, because this is going to be the second strategic partnership council meeting. Also, focus will be on to review all the progress which has been made since 2016, when the Prime Minister visited Riyadh for the first time as Prime
Right.
Minister. Then in 2019 he visited Riyadh. This is the first time he's visiting Jeddah.
Absolutely,
So the
Ghazali. I'm going to
previous
keep coming back to you.
arrangements,
I'm going to keep
announcements will be
coming back to
reviewed and
you.
new announced.
Absolutely. I'm going to keep coming back to you because this is important. But at the moment, I want to quickly now get in my guests as well, Mr. Abbas as well as Mr. Solanki. You know, Viraj, to you first. How do you read this, this visit, its importance, and what do you expect could be the primary takeaways from this visit?
Thank you for having me on the show, Gaurie. I think the main takeaway from this visit is that it signals the growing importance of the Gulf region to India's foreign policy, especially under Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi has really transformed India's relationship with the Gulf. It was primarily focused earlier on trade, on energy, and on the diaspora, and now it has moved to more a wider relationship focused on political relations, investment, and there's growing trust, which is leading to more defense and security cooperation. So I think this visit, the main takeaway will be a strengthening of the political relationship between Prime Minister Modi and his counterpart in Saudi Arabia, and then growing cooperation on trade, investment, and defense relations as well.
Okay, and Mr. Abbas, in terms of the primary focus, what do you think could be the primary focus of this visit? Because let's not forget the messaging that came in terms of the welcome for Prime Minister Modi also had a very important geopolitical message there, didn't it?
Yes, it certainly did, and thank you for having me here. I think it's a really pivotal moment, given that this is the Prime Minister's third visit. It's interesting because Middle Eastern countries have featured as one of some of the highest visited destinations for our Prime Minister, with him traveling to the UAE at least 7 to 8 times, and now for the third time to Saudi Arabia. I think beyond the strength of the bilateral relationship, which really has picked up in the last 5 years, but even more specifically since there has been this new opening from Riyadh that we have seen since 2015, when the Saudi Vision 2030 project was unveiled. I think India has done really well to sort of leverage that new space available, because prior to this, as Viraj also mentioned, we were a little too focused on diaspora and energy, both of which are of priority to us. However, I think now, given both the space available in Saudi Arabia as well as our own inclination to be proactive, both states are now able to meet in the middle and really do something at the strategic level. I think one of the main regional priorities for both states is the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Although there are a number of challenges vis-a-vis the corridor, but they do not pertain so much as to the India-Saudi Arabia relationship as they do to the Jordan-Israel relationship. So insofar as India and Saudi Arabia are concerned, I think the only thing to do and the right thing to do is to proceed at the bilateral level. This is the same strategy that we followed with the Emirates, and now we look to follow this with Saudi Arabia as well.
Okay, you know, Viraj, the other thing I want to ask you is that when we talk about the trade aspect, the defense aspect, the geopolitical aspect, let's not forget that this is happening in the shadow of Trump tariffs, isn't it? The fact that there is a lot of trade uncertainty in the world, how much do you think would it aid for countries to explore more partnerships when it comes to trade, whether it's the India-Saudi Arabia trade relationship? Where do you see the upside going because of the global trade factors?
I think this relationship, primarily, and India's wider relationship in the Gulf region, just highlights how India is seeking to diversify in terms of its trade and investment partners, especially following the tariffs that have been imposed in the US earlier this year. But this is a growing trend, I think, in India in seeking to really strengthen its bilateral relationships focused on gaining more investment from Gulf countries into India to increase its economic growth. So we've seen Saudi Arabia has promised to invest $100 billion into India. There have been some challenges within this, and there's been delays in actually implementing these investment commitments. But it really signals a growing intent for India to diversify its geo-economic partners, and one where India can seek to really leverage the different elements and benefits that it can gain from engaging with Saudi Arabia, with the United Arab Emirates and other Gulf partners, as well as others globally, as it seeks to enhance its economic growth and achieve a 6.5% growth rate over the coming year.
Absolutely. And Viraj, very quickly, I'm running out of time, which is that as far as the geopolitical realignment is concerned, a lot of relationships for India in the Gulf, whether it is the Saudi Arabia in particular, have been impacted due to concerns or due to factors in the neighborhood. And that seems to have pretty much ended, haven't they?
Yes, there has been challenges. This has, from the current conflicts in the Middle East, which have impacted initiatives that India has sought to engage in within the Middle East. But this is now, there are ways that India is seeking around this. It's seeking to progress on corridors such as the India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. And I think now is a chance for India to really strengthen its political relationship with the Gulf region and really seek to strengthen the defense relationship, as was mentioned earlier, as well as trying to attract a wide range of investment, not just from Saudi Arabia, but from other Gulf countries as well. But the key on all of these aspects is delivery, and we need to see that in the coming months.
All right, Viraj and Bashir, thanks so much for joining me on this story, and I'm going to revisit this tomorrow, given the fact that this is going to be extremely important over the next 2 days. I'm going to slip into a very short break, come back on the other side, talk more about Bangladesh. Well, what's the latest happening there? The Women's Commission is now set to be disbanded because of the influence that radical Islamists have on the government there. We come back and talk more. Stay with me.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working. So at that point, it was like, I'm gonna die. My consultant was looking for these clinical trials, and she found this one at Great Ormond Street. I'm cancer-free now.
Curing Alyssa was a world first, but cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK. Will you help us do more? Search Gosh Care to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital, a home for breakthrough research with world-class facilities to help beat cancer for more children. Together, with your kind support, we can help save lives and transform children's cancer care for decades to come. Text CARE to 70125 to give £3 a month and help build our new children's cancer centre. Together, we can beat cancer for more children.
I like to think ahead. Make sure I've got all the right tools for the job. And now that I've turned 50, it means looking after what I've built. I'll be retiring down the line, and with the mortgage nearly done, I want to make sure that my lot will be protected if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more couldn't be simpler and can be done in just a few minutes. Go online or talk to one of their friendly UK team who will chat you through your options in just one phone call. And their claims process is really straightforward, so your loved ones will be looked after.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Get covered in minutes with no annoying trips to the doctor. With fixed monthly payments, prices start at just £4.42 a month. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Cover Today has given me genuine peace of mind. And now that's done, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 470 4322 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
I've been thinking, I want to plan my funeral so it feels more like a celebration. My parents always said I was born dancing. I just love it. Bhangra, disco, even line dancing. So when my time comes, I want to have music, dancing, the lot.
With over 150 years' experience, you can count on Co-op Funeral Care to help you pre-plan the funeral you want. To find out more, visit Co-op Funeral Care or give us a call.
Bangladesh is a country at a crossroads, and now women's rights are under siege. There's now a rising tide of religious extremism that's demanding the abolition of the Women's Affairs Reform Commission, a body tasked with undoing decades of systemic discrimination. The Islamist coalition that's led by Hefazat-e-Islam and backed by Jamaat-e-Islami is now openly rejecting the idea of equality. Let that sink in, viewers, because one Islamic cleric in Bangladesh says this is Western ideology. Now, in a nation that's grappling with political chaos, the question is not just about governance, it's about whether half the population in Bangladesh will be allowed a future that is full of prospects and possibilities. That's the question. And which is why I'm putting out these big questions on this story that impacts half of Bangladesh. Is Bangladesh now surrendering women's rights to hardliners? Second question, how can a country that is wanting to progress can progress if its leaders call equality a Western ideology? Remember, this is a commission that's been formed by Nobel laureate Mohammed himself. Can this commission and the reforms survive amidst equality for women being branded as hearsay? And lastly, will Bangladesh be now run by hardliner Islamist ideology? What happens to these reforms that many believe will take the country forward? Faisal Mahmood, Prime Minister, Bangladesh High Commissioner in New Delhi, joins me to debunk this and to put the record straight. Faisal, clarify for us that the Women's Commission is not going to be disbanded, that the Islamists and their concept that this is a Western ideology will not be adhered to, will not be paid any attention to.
Thank you, Gaurie. Yes, you're right in saying that the Islamist coalition, but I didn't call this a coalition because there hasn't been a coalition formed yet. Jamaat Islam is an independent party and Hifazat Islam is another party. There is no coalition between these two parties. But both of them demanded the abolition of this Women Affairs Commission. But you see, I see irony in the very framing of your question, because if I understand correctly, the Indian media as a whole, including your media, has been terming this interim government led by Mohammed Yunus as an Islamist government, at least a government who has strong rapport with Islamists. But you understand the very fact that this Women Affairs Reform Commission was being formed by Dr. Yunus, and the members there, the members of this commission are known as they're known secularists. To that extent that some are even known as anti-Islamist. So if I want to put this like this, you're very...
And my first question was also just that. My first question was just that to you, right?
No,
Which is why clarify for us. I'm giving you all the airtime.
I know. I'm just clarifying, but I'm asking you a question. So by inherently asking this question, you admit that this interim government is not an Islamist government? Because Islamist government...
There are Islamist radical ideologies that are being mainstreamed.
No. You have been
that is not my point. My question is,
you
clarify for all the women in Bangladesh right now that whatever may be the radical Islamists demand, that the Women's Rights Commission will not be disbanded.
I will clarify that.
You clarify to them. That's what I'm saying. You clarify to them.
No, I will clarify to that. But
so please
let me ask
clarify.
you
What
these
are you then?
questions.
What
By
are you
asking
debating
these
then?
questions, you inherently admit that this government is not an Islamist government.
No, I
because
forget.
an Islamist government wouldn't form that commission at the first place, right?
It has been formed by Mohammed Yunus, but radicals are now saying
Yes.
that this is
And
a Western
my
ideology.
question is,
Debunk
will an
that.
Islamist government will
Debunk
form
that
such a
for me,
commission?
sir. Debunk that for the women of Bangladesh.
Will an Islamist government? No. You ask me. You answer my question. Will an Islamist government?
You
will
don't
form
get
such
to
a
ask
commission?
me questions. I get to ask you questions. I will be fair by giving you enough airtime, and you are wasting all of that in this bickering.
No.
Say,
No.
clarify
You
once,
have to admit that.
will the Women's
by
Commission
framing this
stay
question
or will
in
it be
such a manner,
disbanded?
You have to admit that this government is not an Islamist government.
Will the commission stay or will it be disbanded? Will the commission stay or will it be disbanded?
It's up. I mean, where does this come from? This commission will be disbanded. It's a demand made by an Islamist party. Do you think this government will heed to this demand? Who said that? But you have to answer my question.
So you are saying that the commission will stay and the government will not listen to the ideologies of the radical Islamists. That's what you're saying?
Do you even know? Do you even know what this commission have suggested? I don't think so.
I'm asking you that, sir. It's a simple question.
Okay. I mean, this commission's proposal has been, opposed by the Islamist parties, and they have voiced their opposition on particular grounds. And I mean, that's a long debate. But this commission was formed on the basis of, the principle of, there is this thing called CEDAW, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, right? And I think Bangladesh and both India and Bangladesh are the signatories of that particular both Bangladesh and India have ratified that convention, right? But they both have given some observation on particular regards about like distribution of wealth, like inheritance will. And in Bangladesh, it is being governed by the Sharia Act. And in India, I think it's governed by the Hindu Succession Act as well. So they have voiced their concern against particular provisions of that commission report. So I mean,
sir, I have
Yes.
only one thing to say, that you can go round and round in circles, but I gave you enough airtime only with one thought and one idea in mind, and I'm going to bring you back again on the show because we keep discussing this, Faisal, and my effort all along is that my viewers should be able to understand better what the situation is. I go by, I end this, sir, there is also a time consideration.
Let me clarify.
I'm going to end this by saying that your words is what the women of Bangladesh go by, that the commission stays right now, that the radical Islamist ideology will not run Mohammed Yunus's interim government. And that's the only comfort I can give to them.
This Women's Reforms Commission is a testament to the commitment of this interim government, and they will not.
All right, that's a positive thing, and we're going to end this. And Faisal, I'm going to keep bringing you back because I want to debunk stories. And at the end of the day, we in India would want that radical Islamists do not get to run Bangladesh's interim government. I'm going to shift focus now to a story that is just fascinating at so many levels. Why? Because we're talking about a revelation that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. A team of scientists have detected the strongest chemical hint yet of alien life, but that's 120 light years away. At the forefront of this historic breakthrough is Dr. Niku Madhusudan, a trailblazing astrophysicist from Cambridge University, who's joining me live to talk more about what this means and the scientific breakthrough that is set to change, how we see space. Dr. Madhusudan, thank you so much for speaking to me on India Global. Let me start by asking you, the K2-18b that is located 120 light years from Earth, what is so special about it? If you were to speak to our viewers directly about these planets, what do you think it means to have hydrogen-rich atmospheres?
Yeah, so K2-18b, based on our observations, both previous and current observations, the best explanation to all the data we have so far is and this is, again, we have to look more deeper into it. But currently, the best explanation is that it would be a Haitian world, a planet with an ocean-covered surface and a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. The important bit is that we think it is possible for that ocean to be habitable. And especially because we are seeing these initial evidence for these gases right now, DMS and DMDS, dimethyl sulfide or dimethyl disulfide or both, these are gases that are produced uniquely by oceanic life, primarily by oceanic life here on Earth, but also organic matter and plants and so on land. So those are very strong biomarkers. So this is why we think that there is a chance that these could also be produced by life on this planet. But there is a big if. We still need to verify our observations and do more theoretical studies to make that association. But there is the promise. That's the most important news right now.
Okay, if I were to ask you to quantify this if in terms of years of research, what would that be?
Yeah. So there are two aspects here. First, we have to establish the observation we made right now is literally one observation. And even in one observation, we are seeing a tentative signal. So that's a very good sign. So we just have to make a few more observations, maybe 2 to 3 more observations that will take anywhere between 16 to 24 hours of JWST time to prove that that signal is robust, if it is robust. So that would take maybe a year or two to get all the observations done. Now, when we establish that the signal is real and that the gases are indeed what we are detecting, then there is also the aspect that we need to do theoretical and experimental studies to make absolutely sure that those gases cannot be produced by any other means on this planet at the levels we are seeing. And so association of those gases with life is the other step that will also happen in parallel.
Okay. Sir, you've entered into the field of space. You were in IIT earlier. You started off in India. I want to understand from you the research ecosystem that exists in India from the kind of space research that we would like to or aspire to do.
Yeah, India, in my view, has a great research ecosystem, especially now. There is more awareness. More people are going into basic sciences. And that is what you need to make to do research like this and make great progress. So I think there is great promise for India if we can only channel the resources that we've got into the right problems, the right directions, research directions, and so on. So I'm pretty like positive about India's outlook in making big leaps in scientific research going forward.
That's the best note to end this conversation, Dr. Madhusudan. Thank you so much for speaking to me. And on that note, I'm going to slip into a very short break, come back on the other side, talk to one student from the US who's facing the heat of the Trump crackdown on international students. Stay with us.
I'm a simple man, but now I'm in my 50s, things are getting a little more complicated. Retirement's peeking around the corner, and I wanted to make sure my family would be really looked after if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today.
They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period.
Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life.
Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more can be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card. To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0808 143 4774 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes, from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories. You don't know where to begin and you don't know what to believe.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
I was scared and I was worried.
I didn't understand diabetes full stop.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member too. To join us now, just call 0800 144 5406 and become a member today for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Balance is filled with news and inspiring real-life stories from members just like you. And you'll receive regular emails and vital updates that will help you feel informed and supported. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
Membership makes life better because you're not alone anymore.
Call 0800 144 5406 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In the very first month of Donald Trump's return to the White House, the US has issued 30% fewer student visas to Indian applicants compared to last year. It's the steepest drop amongst all countries. Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese students saw minor dips. Indian students saw disproportionately higher declines. And it's not just rejections. 1,100 international students, including hundreds of Indians, have had their visas revoked mid-program, many without warning. Among them is Manikanta Pasula, who was just months away from his master's degree in New Hampshire. A legal fight is now brewing. Students like Chinmay Gaurie in Michigan are now suing the government. The wait for a visa in Delhi now stretches over 2 months, while students in Beijing get theirs in just 2 days. Now, even New Delhi is stepping in, urging students to take the legal route. For a nation that sends the highest number of international students to America, this is more than just a statistic. While it is yet to be seen if this is just an immigration policy or targeted exclusion. But for thousands of young Indians, the American dream may be, just maybe, slipping away. Which is why it's important that we address this story on India Global. The big questions that I'm posing on our screens right now, and I'm going to in fact get you an exclusive conversation with one of that student who will be joining me to talk more. But as always, first up, the big questions on this story. Why are Indian students facing the steepest decline in visas? Is the US selectively cracking down on Indian students because of the difference in the number of rejections? What legal rights do students have when their visas are revoked without any warning? Why is the US visa wait time in India much longer than that in China or Japan? Will this dramatic drop impact America's talent pipeline? Because as I said, nothing, absolutely nothing is a one-way street. These talented people run America. And when they don't get their visas in time, when they don't align with the US economy, America stands to lose. Which is why I'm now going to get a Columbia University student joining me live to talk more about this situation, what's unfolding there, and the impact this is having on the student community there. In fact, former Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar also joins me on the broadcast to talk more on this. Ambassador Sajjanar, thank you so much for joining me. But before I come to you, sir, I think it's very important that we listen in to the student joining me from America to talk more about the situation. And in fact, let's quickly put that we're keeping her identity secret for obvious reasons. We've changed her name as well. Thank you, and let's get that line connected right now. Okay, we've changed the name of the student to Divya. Divya, thank you so much for joining me and speaking to me on India Global. Let me start by asking you, what is the situation like on ground? Do you know anybody who's been directly impacted by what the Trump administration is doing when it comes to students and their visa revocations?
Yes, hi, thanks for having me. On ground, the reality right now is very scary. I myself know classmates in my own program who've been affected. I work an on-campus job, and every day you keep hearing about people not only from India but from other countries as well who are deeply affected, and visas have been revoked, and students have been informed just the same day that from the next day they're going to be having an illegal status. And stories like this are coming up every day on campus now, and it's just a very scary time to be in the US. So it's just a scary time.
Have you been advised? When I say you and, let's say several of your friends and other batchmates, what have all of you been advised to do in such uncertain times?
So the first thing that we've been advised, because as you know, summer vacations are coming up and many people book their flights in advance to go back home. There's a convocation happening in May. So we've been advised, first of all, to not travel out of the country. If the visa status that we're holding is okay for now, they said that in case of any travel internationally outside of the US, anything can happen. We won't be allowed to get back in the country, and there could be like lots of issues because our visas do say Columbia University as well, right? So a lot of immigration issues can happen, and for that, their recommendation has been that just simply do not travel, because once if things get out of control, there's
Are you saying Indian students are now not traveling, or they are scared to travel back to India because they don't know what happens if they come back?
Yeah, exactly.
And do you know of anybody who's seen their visas being revoked without any proper warning or reason?
Yes, I do know someone directly impacted whose visa was revoked.
Can you tell us about what happened there?
So they just received an email from ICE, from the administration, saying that the visa has been revoked, and now from the next day they're going to be an illegal immigrant instead of legal. They had to de-enroll from all of their classes at Columbia. They were living on housing, on Columbia housing, and they had to leave that.
Why? What was the reason given?
There was no reason given. There was no reason given. It was just an email saying that now the visa has shifted and they need to contact their country's embassy and inquire about what the case has been.
Are you saying that you know someone, a student, whose visa is revoked with a single email with no warning, no reason given whatsoever?
Yes.
What are they doing right now about it? What is that person doing, that student doing now?
They're making appeals. The university has been supportive in the way that they have immigration lawyers on board. So we do have some legal services as students that we have access to. But again, these legal services are not private. These are public services. So of course, they are not as thorough as one would like. They're not as equipped to handle a lot of cases at once as one would like. So the process is still going on. She hasn't been deported yet, the student I'm talking about, but she's still appealing. She's working with the university lawyer right now, and they're just working on a plan to what to do.
Divya, stay with me. I want to get a quick reaction from Ambassador Sajjanar, and I'm going to come back with a follow-up question. Ambassador Sajjanar, you're hearing the student live on India Global, telling exactly how it's unfolding for Indian students there. What would be your advice to them?
You know, number one, it's very unfortunate what is happening, because it's not only to the students who are there. I know umpteen number of people, you know, those who are green card holders and others who otherwise would have, you know, full right to travel to the United States, stay there and come back. You know, even they are very apprehensive, particularly, you know, where there are sort of couples, husband, wife, child. You know, the husband might be American, the wife might be Indian. They have to stand in different queues to, you know, for the immigration purposes, and they don't know whether the, you know, whether the visa of the wife, she has a green card, whether that would be honored or it would not be honored. So I think there is all this uncertainty has been brought in. And as we can see, there is this uncertainty not only in the area of trade and tariffs, but also in public,
Absolutely.
you know, individual
Indeed,
lives.
a lot of uncertainty. And in fact, Divya, let me ask you this, two questions quickly. Have you or have any of your friends, batchmates reached out to the Indian embassy, and are they helping there in the US?
So thankfully for now, I don't know anyone who's had to do that. And I think I'm very grateful for that. But yes, we are constantly in contact with the international office at Columbia, and they have been contacting embassies all over the world to make sure they can come up with solutions. But of course, the environment is very uncertain right now, and the most common answer that we've been getting from the authorities is that it's too uncertain. We're trying to be in contact with embassies, but personal communication is something that has not happened yet between students and the embassy.
Final question I want to ask you, Divya, which is that Columbia is one of those universities which has been significantly impacted. There are others as well. Is there some sort of a student-led initiative to ensure that collectively these concerns can be addressed better?
Yes. So students are organizing, even though these are risky times, everyone is worried about their identities, because as such there's not being a lot of reasons given for the decisions that the administration is taking. So people are scared. It is risky, but at the same time, it is very important for all of us who've traveled half the way across to stand up with each other, right? So students have come up, a lot of international students are forming unions. We are protesting, and these protests are both virtual as well as on campus, in person. We're going to the president's office, we're going to the administration's office, getting them to answer, getting them to take our side, getting them to just hear our voices, right? And understand that for us, there is no one else in the country that can help us. It has to be the university. So yes, that has been very much prevalent throughout the university.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Divya, you're brave, and I'm going to give you this assurance that NDTV will continue this campaign, and India Global here will continue to speak for the voices of all those who practically run America. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Divya, and Ambassador Satyanar for joining me on this debate. Well, at the end of the day, bottom line, viewers, is that America doesn't just benefit from Indian students, it depends on them. These are the engineers in Silicon Valley, the researchers in biotech labs, the future entrepreneurs who drive innovation. A 30% drop in visas isn't just a statistic, it's a self-sabotage. In a global race for talent, shutting the door on India's best and brightest is a short-sighted move that weakens America's edge. If the US wants to lead the future, it must stop turning away from those who can help build it better. On that note, I'm going to slip into a short break. Coming up, viewers, on the other side is mega exclusive of NDTV with US Second Lady Usha Vance. Stay with us for that conversation.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pamelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926, text C13 to 82727, or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
When Tony passed, we wanted to celebrate him his way. All he ever spoke about was bite this, bite that. I'll never forget our first date. Huge grin on his face as he rode up on that big noisy thing. And that's exactly the way he'd want to be remembered.
At Co-op Funeral Care, we know everyone is different. That's why we offer funeral plans to funeral services that are personal, every step of the way.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working. So at that point, it was like, I'm gonna die. My consultant was looking for these clinical trials and she found this one at Great Ormond Street. I'm cancer-free now.
Curing Alyssa was a world first, but cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK. Will you help us do more? Search Gosh Care to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital, a home for breakthrough research with world-class facilities to help beat cancer for more children. Together, with your kind support, we can help save lives and transform children's cancer care for decades to come. Text CARE to 70125 to give £3 a month and help build our new children's cancer centre. Together, we can beat cancer for more children.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Hello and welcome. We have a very special guest with us here today on the NDTV network for an exclusive interview. It's the Second Lady of the United States, Ms. Usha Vance. Ms. Vance, NDTV की दर्शकों की तरफ से आपको नमस्कार.
Namaskar.
So this trip to India, what was it that you were looking forward to the most?
Oh, it's hard to say. My children have never been to India, which is a terrible oversight, but also just the circumstances of my husband's campaigns and everything. So just allowing them to see all the things that they've heard about, they love Indian food, so having the opportunity to eat only Indian food while we're here was something we were thrilled about. And then of course seeing sites like the Taj Mahal and meeting the Prime Minister, those were very special as well.
What did the children like the most about the Amer Fort today? You said they've got this thing about swords and fighting. So I think, so did they sort of feel they were in a fairy tale castle? What did they like the most about the Amer Fort?
So as you know, it's a spectacular fort set high up on the hills, and you really feel its defensive capabilities and why it was built where it was. And they're very interested in pretend battles. So they were up there kind of imagining themselves defending against an army. They read about Indian history, so I think they had a good sense of the types of rulers and militaries that would have been present there. So they were just enacting the entire thing in their imaginations.
But what about the youngest one? I mean, she's just all of 3. I mean, she's really tiny.
Yeah. Well, she's the youngest of 3, so she thinks that she is a 7-year-old boy, and she plays just like the other 2. So she's part of the game.
But what did you and the Vice President like, especially at the Amer Fort?
Well, I mean, obviously the architecture is spectacular, and we really enjoyed seeing the mix of cultures that were brought in when they were building it in the first instance. So you see the Persian influence, and of course you see elements of Hinduism with the lotus references, and it was just a really interesting representation of the position that the Mughal Empire had at the time and the way that they were sort of projecting themselves. So it was a fascinating study in history.
There's a lot of curiosity about what's going on in your kitchen. Everyone is most interested because the Vice President himself has said that he was a meat and potatoes man until he met you, and then your mother taught him how to cook. So now everyone wants to know, what is it that he cooks for you?
Well, he's very experimental. He'll try anything. So he's done everything from chana masala to has been making a specialty of desserts recently. So our children especially enjoy that. And he's tried various lamb dishes. He sort of, whatever strikes his fancy, he goes, finds the right recipe and prepares it.
So in your home, what does a traditional Indian meal look like?
Well, my family is from Andhra Pradesh.
And they have the most amazing cuisine.
Yes, I think so, although we've been enjoying the food of other areas as well while we're here. So my mother and grandmother are both excellent cooks, and my father too actually makes very good dosa, pasaratu, things like that. So I mean, I think it looks exactly like what you might imagine. Sometimes it's very simple and it's sambar and rice and some sort of kura. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated, and my mom pulls out all the stops and makes pulao or something, or a few dishes. But it's a vegetarian household, so that usually defines it.
And the Andhra cuisine is famous for its chutneys. Do you manage to get all the ingredients together there?
I am not a preparer of chutneys, but my grandmother makes wonderful chutneys, and I think she manages to figure it all out. She gets the ingredients at the Indian stores near us.
Well, that's wonderful. You know, there was something else that I was reading about you, and the fact that at your wedding, you had a traditional Indian ceremony, and you also had a traditional American ceremony. And it's a beautiful metaphor for the way people across the globe are coming together culturally. And was that very important to you?
Well, it was very important. We got married in Kentucky, which is the state where my husband's family was from, but we had so many people fly from all over the world, including India. And so both our guest list and the ceremonies were sort of a representation of our very different backgrounds coming together. And you know, my parents, of course, were married in a traditional Hindu ceremony. And so when I imagined weddings and what that might look like, I imagined the pictures that I'd seen of them or of my grandparents getting married. So it was quite important to me to have both elements.
So your next trip now is going to be to the Taj Mahal, to Agra. What are you looking forward to for that?
Well, I mean, of course, it's one of the wonders of the world. And I haven't been there now in, I think, 2 decades, maybe a little bit longer. So I've seen photos recently. I know it's been beautifully preserved. It looks spectacular. And I know that when I take my kids there, their jaws are just going to drop because they love architecture and they are going to be just completely amazed by what was built here all that time ago.
Most children, are they full of questions? What's the kind of questions they ask?
Well, right now, as I mentioned, they're very into military history. So there are a lot of questions about that. But my children are also, this is maybe not specific to the Taj Mahal, but they're very interested in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and stories like that. So they have lots of questions about that, and they're always looking for references everywhere they go. And we've been lucky, of course, to see a puppet show at the Prime Minister's residence, and we've seen, you know, paintings and all sorts of things where they know exactly what the story is just from seeing it on site. So they have lots of questions about those.
So what was the puppet show? That must have been very fascinating for them. Is it the first time? I mean, I don't think that's culturally, it's slowly kind of even fading out. So was that something that the children really enjoyed?
It was something they enjoyed. We saw a few styles of puppeteering, and they were all executed, you know, so skillfully. But the one that really caught their imagination was actually from Andhra Pradesh. It had these sort of leather, flat puppets against a shadow screen. And that just blew their minds. It was a story of the Ramayana, and there were these different Hanumans who were of different sizes and flying, and it was just spectacular.
You know, when you were looking forward to coming to India, a lot of people said, you know, and interpreted it as a sort of the children coming back to their cultural roots. In that sense, is this, because it's a part leisure trip, and it's part of course there's an official aspect to it also. But was that important to you?
Oh, I mean, certainly. We knew that there would be an opportunity, and an important opportunity, for JD to come in his capacity as vice president for diplomatic purposes, you know. But we always knew that when that opportunity arose, we would all come with him because, like I mentioned, we haven't had a chance to bring our children here, and it's been something they've been dying to do, that we have been dying to do with them. And so we took the first opportunity we could get.
I think they were a big hit. You know, everyone was talking about their lovely outfits when they got off. Everyone was most intrigued and most you know, there was a lot of adulation online for their lovely kurtas and the dresses that they were wearing, which was very carefully and I think well thought out. And did you do the shopping for them?
I did, yes. I found this website that sources outfits from India, and I really just enjoy their selection. So I picked a few favorites before this trip, and they'll probably wear some tomorrow because they really enjoy wearing them.
But for you and the Vice President, what has been special about this trip?
Well, this is also JD's first trip here, and there have been a few things that are special. I mean, first, he's heard many stories from my parents or from me about our heritage, about their upbringing, and to sort of see in real life what it's like, I think has been just really very special for him. And then beyond that, this is, of course, it's a very important country. It's a country that is young and growing and vibrant, and I think he has been very impressed by many things that he has read about India and its culture and its trajectory, and to get to see it in real life and feel just how alive it is, I think has been really exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, even your journey, to the United States, and your parents, you come from such an intellectual family, and you're really, in that sense, a lot of people aspire to that in India, to study there and to contribute to American society in that sense. Would you feel somewhere that you do embody that aspiration of the Indian?
I think so. I mean, I think that my parents brought with them many traditions of scholarship, of a respect for knowledge, of sort of the primacy of books and learning in life. And that translated to the way that they built their household. And that in turn has translated to the way that we've built ours. I mean, when I say my children are interested in things like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and all these stories, it's because they're surrounded by books. And that is an inheritance from my parents and in turn from our family in India.
So what else is planned ahead? Just some quiet family time, apart from going to the Taj, of course. You have an evening today and some time tomorrow. So what are the plans?
Well, my husband has a speech to give today, so we'll go do that next. And apart from that, we have any number of activities planned. I think my children are about to take a lesson in making pottery, which they're very excited about. They're very enthusiastic
Even the
artists.
little ones?
Yeah, yes, of course.
So she's part of everything, I think.
Part of everything. She is always involved in everything. And let's see, they're very, very interested in peacocks. Currently, their favorite bird may be tied with certain eagles. And so we're hoping to go find some to look at as well today. I think that'll be a big hit.
And there were these two elephants who were out there at the Amer Fort, all gaily dressed and wanting to say hello. So were there any special takeaway movements? Because they gave a salute as soon as you were walking out. The Chanda and Pushpa were their names.
Oh, is that right?
And yes, and they've been practicing for some time to give the royal salute.
The salute, we were very impressed by the salute. I actually didn't know that they'd been training for this, but I thought it was incredible that they were able to do it on command in that way. They're obviously very intelligent creatures. I would say I and our children really appreciated that. We also thought that the dancing was very beautiful, and that caught, as you might have noticed, that caught their attention for a lot of the time. I think my children really enjoy dancing themselves without that level of skill. So they were, it's just for fun. They're very small, but they're always looking for dance performances to watch when they can.
Yes, all children, I think, they just love to just do a little, and especially in Indian numbers, they love to dance. But all in all, just to wind up, because this is our last question, all in all, if I were to ask you to explain this in a nutshell, this whole trip for you personally, how would you explain it for yourself, your family, and for the children, and for the Vice President also?
Well, as we were actually just describing it last night, it is in many ways a trip of a lifetime, because while I've been to India many times, it's been something that I've wanted to share with my new nuclear family, my husband and my children. And so we think of it as sort of a gateway, the first of many trips to come, I hope, and a chance to allow them to enjoy something that they've already grown up appreciating and loving. So it's very special for that reason.
So thank you so much. और जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं NDTV की तरफ से from the viewers of NDTV, namaste, and thank you so much for taking out time in what is a very, very special trip for you to speak to us. Thank you so much, Ms. Vance.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Right now, terrible things are happening to donkeys. They work all day in the blistering sun, without food or water. They're suffering silently, while their backs are breaking. Some are being abandoned and will be left to die alone. But the worst thing you can do to a donkey isn't to break its body, it's to break its heart. Because donkeys are loyal, loving creatures. They trust us to care for them. And when they're hurt and abused, they feel it inside too. But right now, you can do something incredible for donkeys. You can support the Donkey Sanctuary. Just call 0800 035 9318 and give £2 a month. Because your support can help protect donkeys. You can help us to treat the sick and the injured. You'll help to mend broken hearts so that they can learn to love and trust again. Right now,